Welcome to Unload and Show Clear, powered by Match Shark. Listener ready? Stand by.
Welcome to another episode of Unload and Show Clear, a podcast about the men and women who compete in IDPA matches around the world. I'm your host, Lloyd Bailey. IDPA, International Defensive Pistol Association, was formed out of the concealed carry movement back in the 1990s. It's based on the founders' desire for a sport based on real-world defensive skills and not just fancy equipment. IDPA matches are a series of stages that are based on realistic defensive scenarios, and they'll test the shooter's skills in gun handling, accuracy, speed, and problem solving. Men and women from around the world compete every week in IDPA matches, and you're going to meet one of those great people today. And for 2020, Unload and Show Clear is powered by Match Shark. If you watch videos from last year's IDPA World Championship 2019, you will see that shooters had to deal with the discomfort of shooting in sometimes heavy rain. If you were at that match, or if you were with me at the 2019 Arkansas State match, you know how much fun it can be to shoot in the rain, especially heavy rain. Why do I say that? Well, pasting and scoring targets is not fun at all. Not only are you and your equipment soaked, not only are you cold and wet and damp and uncomfortable, but pasting and scoring targets makes your day even that much more fun. You can't see the scoring zones. The pasters and the tape won't stick to the targets. The targets ultimately will disintegrate because they get waterlogged and have to be changed more frequently. Well, contrast that Arkansas State match to the World Championship and compare the targets. There was a big difference. The difference was you had baggies on the Arkansas targets and you had Match Shark covering the World Championship targets. Match Shark's patent-pending target shields keep targets dry even in heavy rain. They're reusable too, so the cost of those shields is quickly recovered by simply patching and reusing them over and over and over again, and it makes your staff happier because setup and scoring and teardown are so much easier. It makes your shooters happier because they can see the targets and they don't have to deal with plastic bags. They're designed and manufactured right here in the United States. They are owned and operated by two IDPA shooters themselves, people experienced in match direction and setup. They understand the challenges that match staff face when dealing with wet weather. So let them help you run your matches faster and smarter and make it a better experience for your safety officers and your shooters. Visit matchshark.com today and get everything you need to be prepared for your next rainy day match. That's matchshark.com. Visit them today, matchshark.com. Okay, time to get to the show, time to meet today's special guest. Our special guest tonight is Shawn Stallard from Detroit, Michigan. Shawn, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So tell us a little about yourself. What do you do for a living there in the Motor City?
I'm a police officer.
Oh, very good. How long have you been doing that?
19 years now.
In Detroit itself?
Yes.
Holy cow. Well, God bless you. That's and thank you for your service. That's wow. That's a tough beat to be working.
Yeah, a little bit sometimes.
So 19 years in Detroit, originally from Michigan?
Yep.
Born and raised?
Yeah.
Where did the interest in guns come from? Were you introduced to those as a kid, or something that you decided later in life that interested you?
From a kid, my dad used to take us out hunting. We used to go, small game hunting, and we were always shooting 22s and shotguns and things like that. But I really didn't get interested in competitive shooting until I got on the police department.
Interesting. So how were you introduced to competitive shooting?
Well, the police department sent me and a couple other guys to an advanced pistol course out in California. It was taught by Bill Go, and he was a IDPA shooter. I'm sure he still is, but that's where I initially got introduced to IDPA.
So you were hooked instantly, I guess.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, no, you know what it was? That when we got to this class, I had already been on the police department for 10 years. I was on a SWAT team for 5 years at the time already. And this guy, Bill Go, was just absolutely so far advanced, in firearms proficiency than we were. I was like, oh my God, I need to get involved in this because, I'm behind the curve here. And that's really what made me want to do it. And when I started doing it, it was a lot of fun and I met a lot of good people. So I just kept doing it.
Nice. Yeah, I've mentioned this before, and one of my best friends is a Dallas police officer, and he came out and he had the same reaction that you did. The first time that he went to shoot, he was like, these guys are great, and I've got a badge and I carry a gun all day, but they're running circles around me. I've got a lot of work to do to get better. What did you do from there to try to improve your skills? Was it just lots of matches? Was it lots of dry fire? How did you approach it from there when you got back to Detroit?
Right. It was a lot of dry fire. I really didn't do too much of that prior to taking that class. And I just really saw the importance of it after that class. So started doing a lot of dry fire. And then I started going to some IDPA practices at a local club here. And that was a lot of fun. So it was just a lot of dry fire and then go to as many practices. And eventually when the match season rolled around, we just every weekend, me and a buddy of mine were at a match every weekend shooting as much as we could. But dry fire probably was the biggest thing that really helped me along.
From time to time, we do have local police officers come out to our local matches, and they'll shoot with their duty gear, and then they'll have the reaction that you had where, oh my goodness, all these guys, I'm supposed to be this great shooter. I carry a gun for a living, and all these people who are just civilians are just blowing my doors off, and they never come back. So
right.
You decided that this was a motivator to get better. How did the two kind of play together?
Well, most qualifications that I've been a part of for law enforcement are very, you're just standing static. You shoot a small amount of rounds in a larger amount of time, something like 6 well-aimed shots in 30 seconds or something to that effect. That doesn't happen in real life. It just doesn't. And you saw all the shooting and moving and shooting at moving targets and all the props on an IDPA match, like getting in and out of cars and opening doors. Like, you don't get to do that in your regular quals, but in real life, that's what you're doing all day long. You're getting in and out of cars, you're opening doors, you're clearing houses, sometimes you're in foot chases, and it's not real life, but it's way closer to real life than most regular law enforcement quals, the stages that you have at matches. So that really helped me kind of see my weaknesses that I may have, that I may not have seen before. And then you get to go work on those weaknesses. I'm not good at shooting moving targets, and I know that from a match, but I'm going to go practice shooting moving targets. Or if my reloads are slow or my draw time is slow or whatever it is, you really get to test it in a match and then, go back and practice and make that better.
And you're able to visualize that moving target in a way that the rest of us civilians can't, because that's a skill that could save your life. And more likely that it would save your life than, say, me.
Right. It's one thing that you can see now is you can go to YouTube and look at all these body cameras. So most police departments are wearing body cameras, and you see these shootings on body cameras or on dash camera video, and you never see like a perfectly stationary target. It's always some guy running and they're chasing and bullets are flying back and forth, and it's after a car. It's always something like that where your heart rate's pumping and you're running, and it's just so much more realistic a match compared to what most qualifications are.
So what's your favorite division? What gun do you compete with most often?
I'll shoot Glocks. I started off shooting SSP, just shooting a Glock 17. Then eventually I got a 34 and did that for a little while. But for the last 3 years, I've been shooting CCP, and I just shoot a Glock 19. Nothing really too fancy, just some fiber optic sights and that's it. Right.
Is that your duty gun as well?
No, we carry Glock 17s at work, but the 19 is just a little smaller. It's
right.
Pretty close to what
Glock
we're carrying.
is, yeah, okay. Perfect. So how long after that first experience out in California, how long after that before you decided, You said you started shooting local matches. How long after that before you decided to try your hand at a sanction match?
It was that same year. Me and my buddy shot the Michigan State match that year. We went to the class in December of 2011, and then once spring rolled around, so we started shooting the local matches. And then our state match, I think it was in August that year. So that was the first, sanction match that we shot.
Okay. And what do you remember about that day? That's a little different experience from your local match.
Right. I remember thinking, it was almost like that first time of going to a local match and getting beat by everybody. It was like that. I was like, oh my God, it just was so, looking back, it's not as hard now, but back then I was like, man, this is hard. It was very, very challenging stages, a lot longer shots, a lot more moving, complicated stuff. And I was like, wow, this is a lot more difficult than I thought it would be.
So what's the practice routine like for you now? You still doing lots of dry fire? Do you how often do you mix in live fire? And what are some drills that you run? Because you're now a master in what, ESP, SSP, and carry optics?
That's it. No, yeah, carry optics as well, yeah.
Well, forgot about one.
I forgot about that one. I did.
So what was the practice routine and the match routine like, and what drills do you like to run that got you from that wide-eyed first match to master in 3 classes?
Mostly dry fire. Unfortunately, I do work a lot of overtime, and I don't get quite the time to go to the range as much as I would want to. Probably most people don't, but I really don't shoot live anywhere near as much as I want to. But I do a lot of dry fire. Everything, if you think about it, everything you do shooting a gun, you can, like 90% of it, you can do dry. All the drawing and the gripping it the right way and reloading and pressing the trigger, like almost everything you do, you can do dry. So I do a lot of dry fire, and the shooting, I get it in when I can. After that first year, we just went to the one sanction match, but it kind of took off, and we started traveling, going to other state matches and other, I've been to nationals 3 times. I went to the World Shoot this past year. So I really started not just shooting my, local sanction matches, try to shoot as much as we could.
What's the furthest distance you've traveled for a sanction match? Was it to Talladega?
Texas or Alabama. I don't know which one would end up being further, but it was to nationals and to the World Shoot. That was the furthest I've gone.
Tell us about your the World Shoot experience. That was an amazing week.
Yeah, that was a really cool match. It was cool seeing all these different shooters from all these different countries, and the match directors and all the SOs. They're always doing an awesome job and stuff. But my match wasn't all that great. I don't know. I had a few mental errors and made some silly mistakes I wouldn't normally make. But it was a fun match, and I did all right, I guess.
What you have a match now that at least you started what you said 2011, 2012?
2012.
Do you have a match that you go to every year that you look forward to? You pencil it in every time?
I don't think I have a favorite one. I kind of like them all. I whatever ones I can get away from work to go shoot. Like I dig it. It's and you know how it is. All these match directors, they all have different ideas of how to set stages up. So it's always something different every time you go to another state or another range. It's always something new.
Very cool.
Another challenge.
Yep. Did the bumps to master, did those happen in classifiers, or were those match bumps?
SSP was a match bump at nationals.
Nice.
ESP was a match bump in Wisconsin. I think it was 2017 maybe. That was probably one of my better matches in Wisconsin. It was a tier 4 match, and I outside the PCC guys, I won. I beat everybody. So that was like, I just was on fire that day. So I got a match bump there, and then the carry optics was just a classifier.
Gotcha. So talk about that 2017 Wisconsin match. You got the bump to master. You, like you said, you beat, except for the PCC guys, you were top of the heap. So what was that day like? Talk about your memory of that match, and what did it feel like it was just working for you, or did you get to the end and you said, wow, that felt good? Or was it a complete surprise when they announced the scores?
No, I felt like I shot a good match. It was from where I'm at. It was like an 8-hour drive to get there, and then that day was the heat index was over 100 degrees, so it was crazy hot. And I think it was like a 14 stage match if I remember right. So it was a lot of stages, a lot of longer distance shots, a lot of moving stuff. They did a really good job with that match, making it challenging. But for whatever reason, I just seemed like I couldn't do no wrong that day. Like every stage we come up to, I'd shoot. I was fast. I was accurate. I wasn't making any mistakes, and I don't know why. I don't know. Maybe my mind was just in the right place or what. I don't know, but I was doing. I wish I could have that performance on a more regular basis.
Right. What do you think over these years? It's been, well, we're going on almost 8 years for you now. What's the biggest lesson you think you've learned from shooting IDPA since you started in 2012? What's the big lesson for you? What's the biggest takeaway?
Oh, I really think a lot more people in law enforcement should be involved in this. And I started a pistol team with the department. We did that for a couple of years, where the people from all over the department would come and shoot with us, from me and a couple guys in my unit, and then on the weekends they'd go out and shoot matches. And that's kind of my biggest thing. Is I talk about this to everybody on the job that I can, and tell them how much it'll help you. You know, you don't have to go crazy and shoot all these sanctioned matches. If you just came out and shot a couple local matches here and there, you'd really see where your weaknesses were and really be able to build upon that. That's probably my biggest thing, is trying to get other law enforcement involved in it.
What do you think what's the biggest thing you think holds law enforcement officers back from getting involved in competitive shooting?
It's probably a different reason. Some people, some people got families and kids, and we work a lot of overtime, and maybe they just don't have the time. I hate to say it, but some people, I think it's an ego thing. You know, you go out there and you get beat by somebody that you don't think should be able to beat you, and it's an ego crusher, and then they never want to come back. And you can't have that mentality. You got to, it's part of your job. I mean, carrying a gun is part of your job. You need to be the absolute best you can be with it, and that's a really fun way to do it, is through competitive shooting.
Yeah. Do you ever get out and compete with your carry gear, with your duty gear?
Well, I shoot Glocks, and we carry a Glock at work, so we carry 17s, but I shoot 19s and 34s. They're all pretty similar, and I don't really do any crazy like trigger work to my gun, so it's almost, even though I'm not shooting my actual duty gun, it's just like my duty gun. It's pretty much the same thing.
Gotcha. Every now and then we see at our local club, we'll see some of the local Dallas cops will come up, and they will wear the duty belt, the whole 9 yards, right? And they will go retention and the whole, all of it. Do you ever give that a try just for the heck of it, just to see how you would do?
No, I've never done that. Maybe I should give that a try. I kind of feel like I do that enough. I do a lot of dry fire stuff with my duty gear too, so I don't know, kind of do enough of that.
No reason. If you don't have to put the Batman belt on, then why do it, right?
Right.
So, what at this point in your career, what's the next? You're shooting CCP at this point a lot. What is that the next goal for you, as master in CCP?
Yeah, I'd like to do that. I don't want to make master by shooting a classifier. That's something, you can practice for that, and that's not too hard. But to go to a match and to beat everybody else and get a bump that way, that's kind of the way I want to do it. I was supposed to go down to the sheepdog match there in was it Georgia? Yep. And I ended up had a little accident with a razor blade. Got a little careless and actually cut a tendon in my hand, so I couldn't go to that. I couldn't go to that match. That was a little upsetting, because I was really looking forward to that one.
Of all the excuses not to go, oh my goodness. Ugh. Right. I hope everything's healed up well at this point.
No, not yet. I'm still rehabbing it, but I should be good in a couple of weeks.
Wow. Ouch. Okay. What are your plans for the new year? What do you kind of plot out your season and say, well, all right, here are the matches that I really want to go to, or is it all just sort of, whenever you get some free time, you look at the schedule and see what you can sign up for?
Yeah, I try to do it ahead of time, but like I said, I got kind of a crazy schedule sometimes, so a little bit of both. I kind of try to plan out, but sometimes I sign up for things at the last minute as well. I'm still kind of trying to figure things out. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do this year.
What's the strong point of your game at this point? 8 years in and master in 3 classes. Is it? What do you feel like? Which part of your game is your strong suit? and tell us a little about which part of your game still needs improvement.
I think strong suit would be, I kind of like, maybe not so much like, but I think I do good at the hoser stages where you got a bunch of targets really close and you just kind of burn them down kind of thing. I seem to do pretty decent at that kind of stuff. And probably the thing I need to work on is, I think, the mental side of the game. I don't get nervous at the matches or the stages, but I don't think I'm putting my mind into it, or I'm not concentrating enough, because I make silly mistakes sometimes that I feel like I just shouldn't make. I know everybody makes mistakes, but sometimes I make some that I just shouldn't make. When
you first started, did the buzzer, you've been on you started IDPA 10 years into your police career. And now this is the stress of going out on patrol and dealing with the stresses of your day-to-day job, very different from the stresses of an IDPA match. But nevertheless, when that buzzer goes off, there's a certain something in everybody's brain that happens. Did you get that too? Did you have the same sort of like mind eraser moment where, did you feel the nerves early on, or were you always sort of calm at it?
No, yeah, the brain eraser got to me initially, and now it doesn't so much bother me. But like exactly like what you said though, like not shooting at a target. Like at the World Shoot though, the one stage where they had the bag over your head and your hands were tied.
Oh.
Like I shot that clean in 13 seconds, but one of the targets on the end with the yellow shirt, like I didn't shoot at it. So there's 13 seconds of penalties. That's just dumb. Like just to not even shoot at the target. Like I shot, well, I'm CCP, so it was 2 shots on the first 4 targets, and I did my reload, and I didn't go back to that last target. But like stupid mistakes like that is what I'm trying to get rid of.
You talked about how your strength is I would assume is the moving and shooting kind of stuff. You talked about the hoser stages. Is there something that you did when you first started that you've learned better and you don't do anymore? Something that you've learned over the years that is different from the way you used to approach the game?
Yeah, I think I can remember when I first started, like shooting, like you shoot your 2 shots at the target, and actually taking my eyes off the sights and looking to see if there's 2 hits in the 0. Okay, now I can go to the next target. Okay, now I can go to the next target. Obviously, that's really slow. That's a really slow way to do things. But just through practice, that sounds goofy, but honestly, just being honest, that's what I did when I first started. I was trying to shoot really accurate, and I just wasn't fast. But now I got to the point where I kind of, especially a lot of those close targets, I don't even look at the sights. I'm shooting with like a target focus, and I kind of know what distance I have to go or what shot level, difficulty shot level, like if there's a non-threat in the way. Like I know when I have to slow down and look at the sights, and when I can just look at something and let it fly and it'll be there. I'm way faster than what I was when I first started.
Gotcha. I laugh because I totally understand. I used to do exactly the same thing.
Right.
And because my eyesight, at one point, I hadn't yet figured out that my glasses, my eyesight had changed. And my problem was that I was trying to see the target to see whether I'd hit it or not. And my eyesight was not quite where I could see the holes in the target well enough. So I would compensate for that by shooting extra shots.
Right. Yeah, that works too.
Accuracy by volume of fire.
All right.
So if you couldn't shoot CCP or any of your previous master class divisions, ESP, SSP, carry optics, if you couldn't shoot CCP, which is what you're shooting for now, what division would you like to try? And if you had to spend a whole year shooting one division, what would it be?
Oh, so if I couldn't pick those other divisions, is what you're saying?
Can't pick the other ones.
Yeah. Okay. I kind of like bug. I shot the bug match nationals in is it in the old Smith & Wesson headquarters? That was back in 2000, I think 14.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that, but I think they kind of changed the rules, and I don't think my little Glock fits anymore. Like with the beaver tail and the little mag extension, I don't think it fits in the box. So that just wouldn't seem like it'd be fun because the gun is just so small. It just wouldn't seem like it'd be as fun. So I guess the only thing I have left would be CDP. Right. I shot that at our state match like 2 years ago with a Glock 41, and that was fun. But I was a little jealous of all my buddies that were with me were shooting 9mm, and they were going a little bit faster than me. So I wanted to put that gun down and go back to something where I could shoot 9mm again.
Hey, but you get bigger holes in the targets, so I mean, you're more likely to be breaking those perfs.
Right.
You're a Glock guy. It's what you carry at work. It's what you compete with in IDPA. Have you tried anything else? And if you couldn't shoot Glock, what would you choose?
I've never competed with any different guns, but we've carried different guns. I've carried the H&K we carried for a time with my unit, and then we carried the SIG P226, and the whole single double action thing. I never really got into that, so yeah. I guess it would probably have to be something like a Glock, like a striker fired gun. I guess I'm not sure which one it would be though.
What is it over these years that keeps you doing it? What do you love about the sport? Because there are other shooting disciplines that you could be engaging in and moving on to. Some people decide that, all the rules in IDPA aren't fun for them and they move on to USPSA or something else. What is it about IDPA that keeps you coming back? What is it you love about the sport?
I think a lot of it has to do with the people. Like, I've met a lot of really good people in my local area. A lot of really good shooters around here too in Michigan. And it's just the people. There's a lot of really good people. It's a nice environment to be in. And being a law enforcement officer, if you're like pro Second Amendment, everybody at these matches kind of has the same, ideology as you do. So I like the people that I'm around. And then the matches, of course, the shooting part's fun, but it has a lot to do with the people that you get to shoot with and deal with.
Well, Shawn, thank you so much for taking the time to do this, and thank you for what you're doing on the mean streets of Detroit. Keep yourself safe, and hope to get a chance to run across you on the range, hopefully at some point this year. Thank you for being here.
All right, thank you.
Okay, folks, that's all the time we've got for today. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you to our special guest today for coming on the show. And thank you to our awesome sponsor, Match Shark, who's making 2020 possible. If you see them at your next match, by the way, stop by and tell them that you appreciate their support for the show. And check out their website, matchshark.com, for all of their awesome products. Take a moment, if you would, to check out our website if you haven't already. Unloadpodcast.com is the address. We've got all of our interviews posted there, of course. Join our Facebook group if you'd like to interact with other fans and get the latest updates. Check out our YouTube channel as well, unloadpodcast.com/YouTube. We've got some really cool videos there. And check out Apple Podcasts or iTunes and subscribe to the show. Maybe leave us a review while you're at it. We would really appreciate that. And if you would like to show your support in a more personal way, consider becoming a patron for just $1 a month at patreon.com/unload. I'll send you a sticker and my undying gratitude for helping to make all of this possible. If you or someone you know would make an interesting guest for a future episode, contact me at lloyd@unloadpodcast.com, or just go to the website, click on the Contact Us button in the menu, and send us a message. Tune in again next Thursday for another episode of Unload and Show Clear, powered by Match Shark. We are a proud member of the Self-Defense Radio Network. Be sure to check out all of the pro-gun, pro-freedom podcasts at selfdefenseradio.net.